the water's secret. The muddy waters had finally begun to settle, but the landscape of Hartwell Ranch was forever changed. The storm had revealed what had long been buried beneath the earth, something that could no longer be ignored. Walter Hartwell stood at the edge of his property, staring at the natural depression now filled with murky water. His hands were clenched tightly at his sides as he watched the water ripple with the slow, steady movement of secrets waiting to be unveiled. Lucas, his grandson, hovered above with his drone, eyes shining with excitement. "Grandpa, look! The water's like a giant map. It's telling a story, like the land's trying to talk to us." Walter nodded slowly, studying the patterns that the storm had carved. These shapes, these channels, they weren't random. They'd been here long before the houses, long before the HOA, long before Beverly Sterling's perfect community plans. And now, after the rain, they were finally visible, truths the land had kept hidden. Suddenly the roar of an engine shattered the quiet. Walter turned sharply. A black SUV sped onto the ranch, kicking up a cloud of dust and mud. The vehicle came to a screeching halt, and Beverly Sterling, the HOA president, stepped out, her face a mixture of fury and something darker. Fear, maybe? Or determination? "What is this?" Beverly's voice was sharp, trembling with controlled rage. "This chaos, you're telling me this is natural?" Walter took a step forward, voice calm but firm. "Beverly, nature always finds a way. You know that as well as I do." She scoffed, clutching her clipboard like a shield. "This isn't just nature, this is negligence. You've let your land run wild. The storm just proved your failure. The county will see this as a disaster." "Disaster?" Walter interrupted gently. "Or a lesson? Water follows the path of least resistance. It doesn't care about rules or fences. It will go where it wants, under fences, through cracks, around obstacles. That's what I've been trying to teach you." Beverly's eyes flickered with anger. "You're just trying to deflect. This flooding, this mess, it's going to ruin our chances for the community award, and I won't let that happen." Walter looked at her quietly. "The land is speaking, Beverly. It's telling us something. The storm just uncovered what's been hiding beneath the earth for decades. And if we listen, it might change everything." Beverly's expression hardened. "This isn't over. I'll have the county out here tomorrow. We'll fix this." Before she could turn away, a crowd of neighbors gathered. Mrs. Chambers, the old neighbor, was among them, coffee in hand, eyes wide with curiosity. "I knew it," she whispered to herself. "That land's always had water problems. Ever since the 90s, when I looked at the old surveys. It's all there. Natural depressions, channels, hidden beneath the drought." Beverly shot her a sharp glare. "You're imagining things, Mrs. Chambers." Walter, meanwhile, took a slow breath. "Mrs. Chambers is right. This land has always had its secrets. The storm just made them visible." He turned back to Beverly, voice steady. "You see, Beverly, water always follows the path it's meant to. It's patient. It waits for the right moment to reveal what's been hiding, and right now it's doing just that." Beverly's face paled. "This is just a temporary setback. I'll have my people here first thing tomorrow. We'll make sure this mess is cleaned up." "Cleaned up?" Walter's voice sharpened. "Or covered up. Because what's beneath the surface is the real story, and you can't hide the truth forever." She hesitated, then spun around, voice trembling. "This isn't the end. I'll fix it. I have plans for this land, plans you wouldn't understand." Walter watched her storm away, then turned to Lucas. "Come on, kid, it's time I showed you something." He led Lucas to the natural depression, the shallow basin that had been invisible during the drought. Now filled with muddy water, it looked like just a puddle, until Walter pointed. "This," he said softly, "is the key to understanding what's really going on here." He pulled out an old, worn geological map with markings and notes. "This depression's been here for decades. It's part of the natural drainage system. It's always collected water during storms. But no one paid attention because it wasn't permanent. The storm just brought it out into the open." Lucas looked up, eyes wide. "Grandpa, what does that mean?" Walter smiled, but his eyes were serious. "It means this storm didn't just flood the land. It revealed a secret, one that's been hiding in plain sight. And if we understand it, it could change everything." Just then, a helicopter hovered overhead, circling slowly. Walter felt a ripple of unease. The county was already involved, and he knew this wouldn't stay hidden for long. He looked down at Lucas. We're about to learn more than we bargained for. The land is speaking, and it's telling us to listen, because water always finds a way, whether we want it to or not. He paused, voice low. And sometimes the way it finds is the only way to see the truth. Uncovering the hidden. The next morning, the storm's aftermath was everywhere. Streets turned into rivers, muddy pools formed in the lowest dips of the land, and the natural depression was now a small lake reflecting the gray sky. Walter watched from his porch as neighbors gathered around, pointing and whispering. The county's emergency officials arrived, led by Deputy Martinez, a grizzled man with years of experience, but a look of curiosity in his eyes. Morning, Martinez greeted. We've been called about flooding in this area. Looks like you've got quite a situation here. Walter nodded. This is just the surface. The land's been telling us a story for years. Now it's finally spoken loud enough for everyone to hear. Martinez looked at the waterlogged depression. You got any old maps or data? They're right here, Walter said, pulling out the same geological map he'd shown Lucas. This depression's been here for decades. It's part of the natural drainage system. Unseen during dry times, obvious now. The officials examined the map, nodding slowly. Interesting, said Lisa Chen, the county's environmental specialist. This matches some of our historic flood data, but we didn't realize it was this active. Exactly, Walter said. The storm uncovered what's been hidden, what the land has been trying to tell us for years. Beverly, arriving breathless, in muddy boots, looked furious. This is a disaster, she snapped. We can't have our community looking like this. It'll ruin our image. Maybe, Walter said calmly, but it's the land's way of showing us what's really happening. You can't just cover it up with paint and manicured lawns. Nature's systems are more powerful than any rule you set. Beverly's face twisted in frustration. This is an anomaly. It will dry up. It's just a temporary problem. But Walter shook his head. No, Beverly. It's a lesson. And ignoring it will only make things worse. As the officials continued their assessment, Walter's mind raced. The storm had done more than flood the land. It had exposed a truth buried beneath the surface, a truth that could rewrite the way they viewed their land, their community, and their future. And he knew, deep down, that this was just the beginning. The hidden system. Over the next few days, Walter and Lucas worked tirelessly. They examined old surveys, soil samples, and water flow patterns. Lucas, with his drone, captured aerial footage of the natural depression, footage that would soon go viral and change everything. Meanwhile, Beverly's efforts to downplay the flood failed. County officials arrived, armed with new data and questions. The community's reputation was at stake, and the truth was starting to unravel. One afternoon, Walter received an unexpected visitor, an official from the county's environmental department, accompanied by a man in a suit and a woman with a briefcase. Good afternoon, the man said, extending his hand. I'm Jonathan Hayes, County Commissioner. Walter nodded. Pleasure. I've seen your documentation, Hayes said, eyes serious. And I want to tell you, what you've uncovered is groundbreaking. We're looking at a natural system that's been here for decades, maybe even longer. It's a perfect example of how development should work, working with the land, not against it. Beverly's face went pale. This is a mistake, she stammered. We've followed all regulations. Have you? Walter interrupted. Because what you call regulations might have overlooked the land's real needs. The storm just proved that. Hayes looked at Walter, then at the landscape. This land is speaking. It's telling us how to live in harmony with nature. And I think we better listen. The revelation spread quickly. The county declared Hartwell Ranch a model of sustainable land management. Beverly's ambitions crumbled, and her reputation, was forever stained by her failed attempt to control what nature had already claimed. And Walter? He sat back on his porch in the evening, watching the sunset paint the sky orange over his land. The water's secret had been revealed. Nature had spoken, and now everyone would listen. Because water always finds a way. Would you like me to continue with subsequent chapters, developing new twists, conflicts, and resolutions? Absolutely. Here's a continuous, action-packed, engaging, and powerful continuation that dives straight into the story, without the typical setup, starting from the ending of the previous chapter. It uses simple language, suspense, dialogues, twists, and builds to a compelling narrative. This will be a long, immersive story, about 10 pages worth when formatted. The muddy water had settled, but the chaos on Hartwell Ranch was just beginning. Walter stood frozen, watching the flooded depression that had been invisible yesterday. The storm had done its work, exposing secrets buried deep beneath the earth. The land was speaking, and Walter knew it was telling a story that could change everything. Suddenly, the distant sound of sirens broke through the silence. Not sirens of emergency vehicles, but a helicopter. The whirling blades grew louder, circling above like an ominous sign. Walter's heart sank. The county was here. They'd seen the flood, the water, the evidence, and now they were coming to investigate. From behind him, a voice cut sharply. Well, what do we have here?" Beverly Sterling stormed onto the scene, mud on her designer boots, eyes blazing with fury. She looked up at the helicopter, then at Walter and the waterlogged depression, her face twisting in anger and something darker. Fear? Or maybe realization? "Did you call them?" she snapped. "Did you tell them this was some kind of natural disaster?" Walter didn't answer immediately. His eyes stayed fixed on the swirling helicopter. "No," he finally said. "They came because the storm revealed what's been hidden for years. The land was trying to tell us all along. You just weren't listening." Beverly's lips pressed into a thin line. "You think this is natural? This flood? This mess? It's a failure. A disaster waiting to happen. And I'll make sure everyone knows it." The helicopter's blades slowed as it landed nearby. A team of officials disembarked, county engineers, environmental specialists, and a man in a sharp suit who looked like he owned the world. "Mr. Hartwell," the man said, extending his hand. "I'm Jonathan Hayes, County Commissioner. We've been alerted to the flooding here, and I want to see what's going on." Walter kept his gaze steady. "The storm just uncovered what's been here for decades. This depression, this water, it's been part of the land long before any development. This land is telling us something important." Beverly tried to interject, but Hayes waved her off. "We're here to listen," he said. "And what I see, here is a natural system that's been ignored. That's why I've brought my team. We're going to understand what's happening before it becomes a bigger disaster." The team spread out, examining the muddy pools and the natural depression. The county's hydraulic engineer, a tall woman with sharp eyes, bent down inspecting the water, soil, and the old survey maps Walter had laid out. "Unbelievable," she muttered. "This pattern, this depression, it's been collecting water for years. It's an active part of the landscape's natural drainage system, but it's been hidden during droughts because it's shallow. The storm just made it obvious." Walter nodded. "Exactly. It's been here, quietly doing its job for decades. But Beverly wanted to ignore it, to cover it up." Beverly's face turned pale. "This is just a freak weather event. It will dry up." "Freak?" Walter cut her off sharply. "No, it's predictable. Water always follows the path of least resistance. It's patient. It waits for the right moment to reveal what's beneath the surface. And right now, it's doing exactly that." The county engineer straightened up. "We've got enough data here to conclude the land has been mismanaged. These natural channels, depressions, these are critical for flood control and environmental health. Ignoring them is dangerous." Beverly's voice grew shrill. "You're saying this is natural? That it's okay?" "No," Hayes said calmly. "It's a warning. The The land is trying to tell us we need to work with it, not fight it. If we continue to ignore these systems, we're setting ourselves up for bigger disasters. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed through the air. Everyone looked up as the helicopter's blade suddenly sputtered, then stopped. The rotor slowed, then came to a halt with a jarring thud. The helicopter had lost power mid-air. It spun slightly, then tilted dangerously. "Whoa!" someone shouted. The pilot frantically tried to regain control, but the helicopter was descending fast. Walter's heart pounded. "Everyone, get back!" he yelled. The helicopter crash-landed into the muddy depression with a deafening splash. Mud and water erupted in every direction. The pilot was thrown clear, landing hard but alive. The helicopter's frame was bent and broken, sinking into the mud. Beverly screamed. "That's what you get for messing with nature." The officials scrambled to help the pilot, who was shaken but unhurt. Walter stared at the wreckage, a grim smile creeping across his face. "Looks like nature just sent a message," he said softly. The county's hydraulic engineer looked at Walter with wide eyes. "This isn't a coincidence. This storm, this flood, it's all part of the land's warning, and now the helicopter, an accident or maybe something more." Hayes stepped forward, eyes narrowing. "This changes everything. We need to investigate further. And this," he pointed at the wreckage, "is just the beginning." As the chaos settled, Walter turned to Beverly, who was now visibly trembling. "You see, Beverly, what the land teaches us is simple. Water always finds a way. It doesn't matter how much you try to control it. It will always eventually reveal what's hidden beneath." Beverly's voice was barely a whisper. "This is just a freak accident. It's nothing." Walter shook his head. "No, it's a warning because the land is speaking, and if we don't listen, it will keep screaming." In the days that followed, the county's investigation revealed a startling truth. Hartwell Ranch had been built over a natural system that had been active for generations. The flood, the wrecked helicopter, it was nature's way of demanding respect. It was a wake-up call, and Walter knew deep inside that this was just the beginning. The land had more secrets to reveal, and soon everyone would learn that water's power was greater than any rule, any law, or any man. Would you like me to continue with subsequent chapters unfolding more twists, conflicts, and revelations? Absolutely. Here's the core, powerful, suspenseful, and unforgettable ending that dives straight into the action, starting right from the aftermath of the previous chapter's chaos. It keeps simple language, intense dialogues, twists, and a mind-blowing conclusion. This will serve as the closing chapter, full length, designed to leave a lasting impression. The wreckage of the helicopter sank deeper into the muddy depression, the water now stained with oil and broken metal. The air was thick with silence, broken only by the distant wail of sirens and the muffled voices of officials trying to piece together what had just happened. Walter stood rooted to the ground, eyes fixed on the sinking hulk, knowing that this wasn't just an accident. It was a message, loud and clear. Beverly Sterling was trembling, clutching her purse tightly as she stared at the wreckage, her face drained of color. This can't be happening," she whispered, voice trembling. "This is just a coincidence, just bad luck." But Walter knew better. He looked up at the sky, where the clouds still lingered like a warning. The storm that had flooded Hartwell Ranch wasn't an anomaly. It was nature's warning, and now it had delivered its final blow. The helicopter's crash was the land's way of saying, "You've ignored me long enough." Suddenly, a man in a sharp suit approached. It was Jonathan Hayes, the county commissioner. His face was serious, eyes sharp, as he surveyed the wreckage. "This is no coincidence," he said, quietly, almost to himself. "This is nature fighting back, and we've been blind to it for too long." A voice cut through the tense air. It was Lisa Chen, the environmental specialist. "The land was trying to tell us something. That depression, that water, it's been here for decades, quietly working beneath our notice. The storm just pulled back the curtain." Walter stepped forward. "Exactly. The land is alive. It's been trying to warn us, We ignored the signs, dismissed the warnings, and now look what's happened. An accident that could have been a catastrophe. Beverly's eyes darted wildly. You're saying this was meant to happen? That the land deliberately caused this? No, Walter replied softly, but I am saying that nature responds to neglect. When you push it aside, it fights back. This wreck was its way of saying, you don't control me. The crowd murmured in shock, but then something strange happened. A low rumble, almost like thunder, but from beneath the ground. The earth trembled. The water in the depression rippled violently as if disturbed by an unseen force. Suddenly, the muddy water surged upward, faster than anyone could react. It shot out in a towering geyser, splashing high into the air with deafening roar. The water's surface shimmered with an unnatural glow, a strange bluish hue that seemed to pulse with energy. People scattered, shouting. Beverly stumbled back, eyes wide with terror. What is that? Walter stepped closer, unflinching. It's the land's core awakening. It's been buried beneath layers of neglect and lies, but now it's rising to tell us the truth. And then, the water's glow intensified, revealing something shocking just below the surface. Something that had been hidden for generations. A series of ancient carved symbols etched into the bedrock, glowing with an otherworldly light. The symbols pulsed, radiating power. A voice, deep and resonant, echoed from the earth, vibrating through the air. It was not a sound anyone could ignore. You have ignored the voice of the land for too long. Now, I reveal myself. The crowd froze, breathless. Beverly clutched her chest as if she were about to faint. This can't be real. But Walter knew better. He had seen signs before, heard whispers of ancient legends, but this was different. This was the land itself speaking in a language older than time. The symbols on the bedrock split apart, revealing a hidden chamber beneath. From the darkness emerged a shape, massive, shadowy, but unmistakably alive. It was as if the earth had birthed something ancient and powerful, something that had been sleeping for centuries. The creature's eyes opened, glowing orbs of emerald green that pierced everyone's soul. Its voice boomed again, but this time, it was not just a sound. It was a consciousness reaching out, demanding attention. You have disturbed my slumber. Now, I will decide your fate. The ground trembled violently, and the creature's form expanded, taking shape as a colossal entity made of earth, water, and shimmering energy. It was neither beast nor spirit, but something beyond understanding. An ancient guardian awakened and furious. Beverly screamed, "You see? It's a monster!" But Walter stepped forward, raising his hand. "No, it's a warning. It's the land's way of saying we've gone too far. We've taken and taken, ignored the balance, and now it's fighting back." The creature's gaze locked onto him. "You, the one who listens, what do you say?" Walter hesitated, then spoke clearly. "I say we listen, we learn, we change. Because if we don't, if we try to silence or destroy this, then everything we know will be lost." A hush fell over the crowd. The creature's form shimmered, and then slowly, its glow dimmed. The earth settled. The water receded, returning to its natural state, leaving behind only the carved symbols and the silent, sleeping figure beneath. The sky cleared. The storm was gone. And Walter looked around at everyone, eyes filled with a strange mixture of relief and awe. "The land has spoken," he said softly, "and now we must listen." Beverly, trembling, looked at the ground. Did we just wake something ancient? Something we can't control? Walter nodded. Yes. But if we respect it, if we understand it, maybe we can work with it, not against it. He took a deep breath and looked straight into the horizon. The land's secret was buried for centuries, but it's awake now, and it has shown us what true power is. Not in destruction, but in harmony. That's the real lesson. As the sun broke through the clouds, casting golden light over Hartwell Ranch, Walter realized that the greatest storm had passed, one of ignorance and arrogance. Now they had a chance to rebuild, to learn from the land's ancient wisdom, and he knew, deep down, that this was only the beginning of a new era. One where humans and nature would finally dance together, in a balance long forgotten but now remembered. Because some secrets, once awakened, can never truly be hidden again. Would you like me to craft an epilogue or add more layers to this story?